Welcome back to Crypto. Excuse me. Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So, good morning. Welcome to another market open stream. There is the market bell, the best bell in the industry. And today we got to talk about a few big topics, including the European Central Bank acting scared, desperate, and attacks Bitcoin because they don't know what else to do. So let's talk about why this is happening. And of course, a lot of people are waiting for that huge interview with SBF. Let's talk about when that's going to come as well and what he may say and other great things that's going on today. So let's get started. Welcome, 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 guys. Good morning. Let's just dive right in. The ECB says Bitcoin is artificially propped up, shouldn't be legitimized. Oh, wow. They said a lot of stuff, okay? So we know the central banks are not doing too well recently, getting a lot of pressure from people because people know that they effed up. They caused inflation to happen. Why? Because, well, supposedly they want to save, economies, right? I'm talking about central banks around the world, not just the ECB, even the Fed, everyone. Supposedly they felt like, they needed to save economies, so they just started up their money printer and just kept printing and printing and printing and printing and printing. And now we have super, super high inflation. And even though they are trying to divert blame to the war and to supply chain issues, yes, both does affect inflation, but ultimately why we have extremely high inflation right now is due to their careless printing, okay? And that's why so many people are very furious. They're seeing that their savings basically disappear due to inflation. Their buying power is disappearing, and people want something better. People want opt-out. So that's why I think this is a very desperate move by the European Central Bank to release this. And I'm going to kind of go through it. But basically, you know what? Again, they're trying to say, well, Bitcoin isn't being used, right? So look at this. Bitcoin is rarely used for legal transactions. See, had they just removed legal, it's barely used for transactions. I would say, okay, you could give them that because a lot of people are just hodling, right? But they have to add that legal in there because they want to throw doubt. They want to throw FUD at Bitcoin, trying to make people think, okay, well, that means it must be used tremendously for illegal transactions. And that's not true. In fact, it's harder to do illegal transactions with Bitcoin than it is with cash or euros because you could track it. When hackers take a lot of money, like look at what FTX, their hacker, desperately trying to cash out. They can't. These people are tracking it, right? So actually, there's very little illegal transactions that's happening on blockchain, so this doesn't even make a lot of sense. So they're arguing, yeah, it's used for illegal activities. And then they say, well, the big Bitcoin investors want to keep the euphoria up, right? So they're trying to make the argument that it's been being manipulated by the biggest and wealthiest investors. Well, what isn't propped up by the biggest and wealthiest investors, right? You look at equities, you look at bonds, even bonds are propped up by the strongest and richest countries out there, right? And you look at equities, the same thing. So that doesn't even make any sense. But then look at this. They're making an argument for Bitcoin. Despite the ongoing crypto winter, VC investments into crypto and blockchain total $17.9 billion as of mid-July. That's an endorsement. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That shows you how many people believe in crypto and blockchain and they continue to pour money into it despite the winter. What about if we're not in winter and we're in summer? Well, that number would be much, much higher. So that point doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even help them make their argument, right? And then they say, well, regulation could be misunderstood as approval. Well, we just had, obviously, one of the biggest collapses we have seen in crypto with FTX, right? And many people feel like, yeah, regulations are coming, frameworks are being developed, right? But regulations are not just bad. So it's funny that ECB is now trying to spin it, saying that regulations are purely bad and we should basically ignore them because they're not approval. Well, in a lot of cases, they are. Look at what happened with Brazil yesterday. They just voted and they said, hey, Bitcoin could be used for digital payments. So basically pretty soon, after the president signs off on it, all Brazilian businesses can accept Bitcoin. That is huge. That is approval. That is positive. That's not negative, right? But of course, ECB doesn't want you to think that and thinks that as countries and governments around the world, since they feel like they have no choice but to embrace Bitcoin and crypto and decentralization, ECB wants you to think that that's a bad thing. That, hey, that's not approval, right? So don't think of that as a good thing. And then, lastly, this shows you how desperate they are because they are one gigantic bank, essentially. And they're saying, well, this could have a negative impact on the banking industry. Well, duh. So this last part right here, the negative effect on customer relations and reputational damage to the entire industry could be enormous once Bitcoin investors have made further losses. So they're saying, well, the banking industry will take more damage if they help investors get into Bitcoin and there's further losses. Okay, so they're saying that. But why do you think the overall banking industry, financial industry is embracing Bitcoin and crypto overall? Because they know if they don't, they're going to become dinosaurs and go extinct, right? So they're using this as an excuse saying, hey, you don't want to get into it. If you're a bank, you don't want to touch this thing. It's going to hurt you, right? But again, very, very desperate. This whole thing is just desperate, okay? And you know what? One of the guys, you look at the two people that worked on this, okay, this Ehrlich Binseal. You know what else he worked on? CBDCs. He's one of the ones that wrote a paper series about CBDCs. So is this their true agenda, to spread FUD about Bitcoin so they can promote CBDC created by the ECB? Well, it makes sense. That makes sense. So there's definitely an alternative motive behind saying Bitcoin's last stand or Bitcoin is going to die and this and that, right? And just to remind you guys, even though ECB is picking out Bitcoin in their desperate attempt to divert blame from themselves, keep in mind, this is what happens with buying power. So if you had $100 worth of euro back in 97, your buying power is now about $60. Okay, and we know that the euro has collapsed tremendously in 2022. In fact, it's lower than the USD. And it's not just the ECB, or it's not just the euro, I should say. Look at the dollar. The dollar's even, you could argue it's worse because this goes back farther. From the 1900s till now, $100 in the 1900s is now like $2 or $1, right? This is what happens with all fiat currencies. Every single one basically inflates to zero. People have to understand that there's no country on earth that issues fiat that has a set supply. They're all created to inflate, and they're created so that they can apply quantitative tightening or easing, so they can control the supply, they can control whether or not it goes up. I mean, basically, you are at their mercy, and they can print as much of it as they want, while you, being average Joe, trying to save your life savings into the bank with whatever fiat that you have, you just see it do this over time until it becomes basically zero. So this is why they're so desperate to get people away from Bitcoin, because there's so many people realizing this and they want to opt out. And let's not forget, the Eurozone inflation is 10% now. And there's many that feel like it's going to go higher. And many countries in the Eurozone, like for example, UK, is already at 11%. Italy is already 12%. And many other countries like Germany is also in double digits, right? Again, inflation is no good. And that is why we need something better. And we do have something better. That's Bitcoin. That's Bitcoin, right? And here's a good example of what inflation or reducing inflation looks like with Bitcoin, with the halving event, and how the inflation rate gets cut in half every 4 years, right? And look at what that has done to Bitcoin's price over the years as well. So stick with Bitcoin, my friends. Stick with Bitcoin. Don't listen to ECB, because they are not looking out for you. They're not looking out for the best interest of the people or banks or financial industries. They're looking out to preserve what they have. That's the bottom line. All right. Outside of the ECB, what else is there? Well, we have some decent economic news today. But before I get to that, let's talk about what's going on with this guy right here. I know a lot of you guys, there's two big speeches. A lot of you guys are looking forward to this. So I don't know when this is going to happen, but this New York Times Summit with SBF, a lot of people is looking forward to this interview. They have a whole slew of people they need to talk to first. Amazon, Zelensky is there. I don't know why he's appearing. But anyways, you got BlackRock there. You got Janet Yellen there. And then you got Meta, Facebook, Netflix. You got Mike Pence. Ben Affleck somehow got thrown in there. CEO TikTok. You have a prime minister designated from Israel. And then you have SBF. Okay. Now, I was told this event is very costly. It's like $2,500 to even tune in virtually. But the SBF portion will be free. But I don't know when that is. It's going to probably be mid-afternoon, right? So if I could catch it, maybe I could play for you guys. But overall, I think SBF is going to play idiot once again. Play the part of being incompetent, and he had no idea what was going on, and that's the bottom line, because I think that's the only way he could save himself at this point. So we will see. We will see. But that is coming up. I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to it. Something else that's coming up is Jerome Powell. I don't know why he decided he's going to speak today, right? Whenever Powell speaks, it's never a good thing. I don't think it's ever been good where he spoke and then things went up. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of the world. But yeah, there's that to look forward to. I know a lot of people will be tuning into that. So we'll see how the markets react after that. But other economic news that relate to this, well, you're looking at least in the U.S., we got this jobs report from ADP, and we did add jobs for last month, but it came in way, way lower than the estimate. The estimate was 190,000, okay, versus 239,000 from a month ago, and we only got 127. But here's the thing. This looks horrible. This looks absolutely horrible, but you know what? It's actually not horrible. It's actually a good thing because, like I said, everyone's looking for Powell to turn dovish, do a pivot, and this may happen because we're seeing softening, right? We're seeing economic data that's showing, yeah, we are getting a little bit worse, but not too bad, right? If this was like 0 or negative, then that would be absolutely disastrous. But the fact that we are slowing down is actually good. is actually good. And same thing with mortgages. Mortgages demand still drops, even though the mortgage rates are falling. So these are things that could make Powell more dovish and throw more pivot language in the next FOMC meeting. So we'll see what he says in this one. Maybe he's going to give a precursor to what will be said next month. All right, outside of these things, what else is going on? Well, of course, Bitcoin is going on, and Bitcoin is doing well, trying to hold above where it is now, 16.8. We shot up to 17,000 yesterday, right? We're kind of holding steady. It looks like it just wants to burst upwards. That's what it looks like to me. Bitcoin has been suppressed so much, obviously brought down by FTX recently, right? Contagion spread, so much fear, but it's looking positive. It's looking good. We had this huge thing from Brazil yesterday. We got Fidelity coming in, and of course, we still have long-term holders that continue to buy up Bitcoin. One addresses with balance with one Bitcoin. Look at how much it's skyrocketing. And that's just in November. This is just November time frame. Look at that. People are paying attention. People are taking advantage. Low prices, and they're taking advantage of the fact that we have something that allows them to opt out of all this economic nonsense right now, right? So this is also going on pretty good. Also, speaking of Lightning Network and transactions, Lightning Network continues to get stronger and stronger and stronger every single month. In November, actually, you could see it's going to go up quite tremendously. So pretty positive overall. And of course, when we're talking about oversold levels, yeah, we're still very, very, very oversold. In fact, a lot of these on-chain metrics show Bitcoin has never, ever, ever been this oversold in its history. Good time to be picking up and stocking up, that's for sure. All right, what else? Some other good news, I guess. Animoca brand's a huge giant in the NFT space out of Hong Kong. They're going to start a $2 billion metaverse fund. So if you thought metaverses or NFTs or in general crypto was dead, you're wrong. So this is going to be absolutely huge, right? And this is also, I guess, good. MetaMask Competitor. Phantom is coming and supporting Ethereum Polygon. Phantom is probably doing this because of all the FUD that's thrown at Solana these days. But Phantom was the biggest browser-based, or I think it still is, the biggest browser-based wallet for Solana's ecosystem. But they are expanding to Polygon and Ethereum. So more wallet support, the better. Nothing wrong with that. And then speaking of Polygon, their NFT sales are up almost 200% from a few months ago. So there's definitely still a lot of appetite for NFTs. And there are definitely a lot of NFT marketplaces on Polygon. They are definitely leading the way when it comes to NFT marketplaces and NFTs in general. So good things going on. All right, I think that's about it. Let's do some Q&A. Well, I didn't even check the market. What is the market at? The U.S. market. Up in NASDAQ. Dow is down. Very flat. I think people are waiting to hear from Powell. I think people want to see if he's a little bit more dovish or hawkish. We'll see. All right, let's do some Q&A. All right, let me scroll up here. Ray says if Elon pushes Doge through Twitter, it will moon. I I agree with that. D-Truth says millionaires will be made. Yes, millionaires are made by buying low and basically holding. People really do not like the ECB FUD. I can see that. Yeah, people don't know why Ben Affleck is showing up to this too. He was thrown in last second, Ben Affleck. I don't know why. I don't know what he's going to be saying here. All right. Daniel, you're welcome and thanks for being here. Opus, could ETH fall 95% when stakers are allowed to withdraw? What are your thoughts? No, I don't think it's going to fall 95%. It already fell 90+%. I don't think it's going to fall another 95%. And what are your thoughts on wrap coins? Do you trust them overall? I think that's the wrong question to ask. I think the right question to ask is, why do you need to hold on wrapped coins? And the answer is, well, for me, the answer is no. But for many others, they could say yes, because I want to participate in DeFi, like having wrapped Bitcoin and participate in DeFi in Ethereum's ecosystem. For me, I'd say no. If you have Bitcoin, you hold Bitcoin. You don't try to wrap it. So the answer to that is no. Do you think we're getting close to crypto spring? I think we're a lot closer now than before. That's for sure. I think when the Fed starts turning dovish, the rate hike starts decreasing, that's when we enter spring. Doesn't mean that we're going to fly up right away, but it means that we are definitely going to slowly recover from there. And as for Bitcoin, as we head closer and closer to that halving event, we're definitely going to see some effect. I would say pretty good recovery up to the point of the halving event, which is April 2024, I believe. And then we're going to see that tremendous run afterwards once again. Is mining profitable for retailers anymore? Do you still mine? No, I've not mined for years. And I would say no. Thoughts on interviewing Tiffany Fong? I don't do any interviews, so probably not. I know that she interviewed SBF, and that broke out recently, so that was good for her, but we'll see what SBF says today. I think he's going to be on the biggest stage. Everyone's going to be tuning into that deal book interview, so let's see what he says. What are your thoughts of Ethereum classified as security? They'll survive. A lot of people will trust them less and support them less, but overall, you know, being classified as security is not a death sentence. Every single stock out there is a security. So I think it'll just be very cumbersome. They're going to have to do a lot of reporting and there's going to be a lot of oversight and all this stuff. It's something that no one wants, but let's just say if it happens, it's not going to be a death of Ethereum, but it's going to hurt them tremendously. Am I still sitting on my soul? Yes, I am. Chef, I don't know his BNB theory, so I can't comment on it. What do you think about Cardano stablecoin, DJed? I don't really have any thoughts on it. It's a stablecoin. And there's another one that's being developed by Emergo. Stablecoins are just stablecoins. There's nothing exciting about them other than they're useful. Just like DEXs, they're useful. That's it. can't really get excited about stablecoins. Will SBF get arrested today? I think if he shows up, if he somehow makes it on stage, I think he'll be arrested after the event. But most likely, he will be probably zooming in. But who knows? Maybe he shows up on stage, and that's a beautiful stage, by the way. That's a beautiful stage. But if he somehow appears on that stage, you know, there's gonna be FBI like standing right to the side there, and they will be arresting him. But I don't think he's gonna be there. I don't think he's gonna be there. You know, will SBF have an accident today? You know, I don't mean to joke around about this topic lightly, but there's been reports about all these crypto billionaires or millionaires suddenly like just disappearing. That's a little concerning. A little concerning there. Shubash, I don't know why you're trying to defend the ECB. They're studying because they're worried. It's not because they're trying to embrace Fusion Protocol or Chainlink. No. They're trying to study it so that they could come out with their own CBDC. Okay, that is their agenda, not because they're fascinated with crypto. So don't try to defend the ECB. They're not up to any good. That's for sure. I don't know when that interview is, so I don't even know if I could stream it, even if I wanted to, because I don't know when it's going to be. And no, I'm not going to stream the Powell comments. I want to stream the official, Q&A for the press release or whatever the decision of the FOMC meeting in December, but not whatever he's going to say there. It's going to be, it's guaranteed to be damn boring. Andrew Sorkin spikes my cortisol. I want to know how old he is, because I always think, or before years back, I look at him, I'm like, man, that guy is just a little bit too young to be asking all these tough questions on TV. But that was years ago, so I don't know. I don't know how old he is. But, yeah, he's a character, to say the least. Why is no one talking about Dan Fredberg? Because he wasn't the CEO. A lot of rumors that he may have been the one pulling the strings, advising SBF, but ultimately SBF is the CEO and the buck stops with him. I don't know too much about Fredberg. I just heard it through the grapevines. FTX mess equals massive withdrawals to cold wallets. Yes, the number of Bitcoin has greatly reduced. Supply and demand, BTC should have gone up. It's not automatic. You still need people to be buying, right? So even though the supply has decreased, but the number of people buying has not. So it's going to take time. It's not immediate. And it's not like all the Bitcoins are gone from the exchanges. We're not there yet. But one day when it is, then it's a different story. But, as for safeguarding your own crypto. Never a bad time to do it. Never a bad time to learn. I got all this right here with me, you know. I've been a Ledger guy, but I think I may be testing out Trezor in this future because it's always Ledger and Trezor. In terms of hardware wallets, there's a few others, but those are two biggest. But yeah, right here. I got my Nano S Plus. I'm still using the S, never moved away from it, but I think I got to get to the S Plus. And then I got a couple other accessories here. Here's one. It's just like a pod for your Ledger. It makes it dust-proof and somewhat waterproof. I don't know, just a little cover here. And then there's like another case here. It just depends on what you want, but yeah. So Ledger actually sent these to me to test out, so I'm going to have to test them out. So overall, never a bad time to be safeguarding your own crypto. I think I just actually looked at the wrong camera, but it's okay. I always get confused by my dual camera setup. No, I still use Arculus. There's no reason why you have to just use one wallet. I still have Arculus on my phone, but Arculus is not a cold wallet. It's a hot wallet. So if you want ultimate protection, it's cold. But if you want some where it's a hot, so it's easier to move around and trade if you need to, Arculus is fine. Arculus is like a hot wallet with another authentication built in, and that is the NFC card. Right, so it's like Trust Wallet, except you layer in a NFC card before you can send crypto out or swap. But it's somewhat limited. It's limited. They don't support a lot of coins. Yeah, people ask me about Ledger. Do you want to get the S Plus or the X? X has Bluetooth, which turns off a lot of people because basically it's not a real cold wallet anymore, because what if you accidentally leave the Bluetooth feature on, right? But, you know, the S Plus is basically the X without the Bluetooth features. So that's why I think a lot of, and plus the S Plus is actually cheaper. It's way cheaper. It's like half the price. So I think the S Plus is actually the way to go. Is SafePal good? I've heard people talk about SafePal. I've never used them before, but I have heard good things about SafePal. I don't think I've heard anything bad, nothing that I recall. I use a cell phone on airplane in Wi-Fi. You mean airplane mode? You could do that. You could do that, but you're always carrying your cell phone with you. You know, that's the thing. You still have to worry about, you know, it being stolen. It could still hop on a network, right? There's still stuff that could happen. Is it likely to happen? No. But, you know, it's just up to you. It's just up to you. Other than MetaMask, where can you store Glimmer token? Is it a ERC20 base? If it's ERC20 base, then you could store it everywhere. But I don't know. I'm not familiar. Yeah, that's a good recommendation, Matt. If you're buying a ledger, don't buy it off eBay. Okay, people could tamper with it. You know, some people argue you can buy from Amazon, which is less risky, but still, you know, I would say buying it directly from Ledger is the safest. I set up my MetaMask and bang, and went to zero, hacked already. What a joke. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. So your computer must have a ton of malware or viruses on there for that to happen. And yeah, there's no way that should happen. That's not a MetaMask thing. That's something with your computer. got my ledger from my wife's boyfriend. Video idea, best, cheapest cold wallet review. You know what? If you want it, you know, the cheapest way to store your crypto, you could create paper wallets. I mean, there's sites that allow you to do that. Because basically, you know, what it comes down to is this. It doesn't matter what device you have, the recovery phrase is what's most important. You could have some of the fanciest wallets out there with biometrics, with a nice screen, with NFC card, all this stuff that's layered in. But ultimately what it's doing is protecting your recovery phrase, which you could derive your private key from. So ultimately, if you just write that down on a piece of paper, that is the most important thing to safeguard, not the device itself. So it really depends on where you go put that, right? You go hide it in your house. You go hide it with your family. You go put it in a safe deposit box. You go memorize it. If you can memorize it, that is the best. Then you don't have to worry about anyone ever stealing it. But then you have to be sure that you never forget. Because there's a guy that bought some kind of device where you only get 10 tries to recover, to enter your password before it self-destructs. And he forgot his password. So he tried 8 times, and he's given up. He's not trying 9 and 10 times. But he has like over $100 million worth of crypto on there. So that may be gone forever. So just be careful. Just be careful. All right, guys, I'll let you go. Overall, hey, ECB spreading a lot of FUD, spreading a lot of fear because they don't like what they're seeing. They're desperate and scared. They've caused a mess. People are noticing. People are trying to opt out, and they don't like it. They don't like it, and that's why they're throwing all this FUD at Bitcoin. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it, my friends. And then let's see what happens when Powell speaks today and what happens after SBF speaks. I'm going to recap all these things tonight, so make sure you tune in 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.